I think I worked as a junior associate for 2 years before my wife demanded that I take time off for a vacation. And probably said something to the effect of, "You will die, not by my hands, but just from overwork if you don't take some time off."
Hi, I'm Dave Weich, and you're listening to Work-Shaped Life. Your coworkers' spouses, another whole category of characters in your life. They're like work in-laws, colleagues a degree removed. They could be anyone, and then all of a sudden they start showing up for dinner. In the early 2000s, Matt married a coworker of mine. Those being the years that inspired Portlandia, we wound up on a kickball team together for 6 seasons. Did I know what he does for work before this conversation? I knew what his job was called. Does that count? Think about it. You're familiar with a lot of job titles, right? Do you know what those jobs entail? I knew that he worked a lot. I've heard stories. He's had a bunch of different jobs since we met. But I have work friends, and Matt's not one of them. This recording aside, most of the time, we talk about other things.
I'm a partner at a small law firm, and my practice is split evenly between a broad corporate practice. So I form companies, I help companies with different governance issues, I review contracts, I buy and sell businesses. In the legal world, that's generally what corporate means. And then the other half of my practice is commercial real estate transactions. So buying, selling, leasing real estate.
And how would you describe your clients? Like, who are they typically? What kind of organizations or people hire you?
Kind of a mixed bag right now. My 3 partners are estate planning attorneys. I get some of my work from them, and those tend to be families that have companies that are largely owned in a trust and oftentimes are going through generational change, trying to figure out how to transition from the founder to the children. So closely held family-run companies are kind of one area of focus. And then a lot of the bigger transactional work are corporations, largely based in the Pacific Northwest. And then the other main bucket is individuals that also tend to be ultra high net worth and have a lot of assets that they own. And I kind of work with them in an advisory capacity to help them manage all of these things that they have.
So I happen to know that you majored in philosophy.
Yes.
Why?
I was actually thinking of doing computer science, but then I had a conversation with my father, who was an engineer early in his career and then went to business school. Very, very smart person. Just talking to him and said, "Yeah, I'm thinking of going into computer science." And said, "Well, have you ever considered philosophy?" Said, "No, I haven't ever considered philosophy. Why would you suggest that?" He said, "Well, I think that you can learn a trade at any point in your life, but you have few opportunities to learn to be a critical thinker. And I really believe that a liberal arts education is one of the best things you can do in college." So I took an intro to philosophy course and actually really enjoyed it, thought it was very interesting. I didn't learn until after the fact. This is one of my favorite stories. My father, he started college at Cornell and declared a double major in theater and business. Why college-age father decided that he wanted to double major in theater is, I never got a chance to ask him that, but he had very overbearing parents, and so came home from Ithaca for the summer to the Chicago suburbs and did his thing over the summer, and when it was time to go back to school in the fall, he said, okay, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go back to Ithaca next week. And my grandfather said, no, you're not. And he said, what? My grandfather didn't approve of his choices that he'd made his freshman year for his major. And so he forged his transfer paperwork.
Oh my God.
And told him that he would be going to the University of Illinois instead, where he had been enrolled in the College of Engineering, and he was going to get a real degree.
How?
So my father's advice to me, as so often is in our lives, our views and our recommendations to others are based on our own personal experience. And his recommendation that I study philosophy was a direct response to his experience with his father being so heavy-handed and telling him that he was going to be an engineer.
Right. Wow. And he did. He completed the program. He got an engineering degree.
Yes.
I mean, that's not the craziest part, but it's almost the most unbelievable. Like he did, okay, I'll just get an engineering degree then, as if anyone could just do that.
Yeah. I mean, he was an incredibly intelligent person. So it doesn't surprise me that he was like, okay, I'll be an engineer and then do well at it.
Right.
Because the kind of math he did after he went to business school and then started trading in derivatives, that was kind of the family business. And my brother ended up doing it too. But
okay.
I could never quite wrap my head around what they were doing.
You were the child who was not going to head in that direction, and that was perhaps clear.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember the course that I often think about as being in some ways the most useful to me, the most practical, was in the Department of Philosophy, but it was logic. I think about it all the time. Like the ability to actually think through any number of problems, obviously not math, not philosophical arguments, but just like life questions, and apply a more logical framework to it. So I met you more than 20 years ago. At the time, you were working at Starbucks.
Yes. Yeah. So when I graduated with a philosophy degree, and my now wife and I moved out to Portland, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. So the first job I got to pay rent was a barista at Starbucks. So on my breaks, I would sit outside with my coffee and journal. And I just kind of free form thought, oh, what am I going to do with my life? What am I good at? What do I enjoy doing in a professional capacity? One of the things I really liked about philosophy was all of the thought experiments and the different kinds of reasoning and logic, and a lot of paper writing in colleges, analyzing those arguments. And so throughout college, I really developed an interest in writing, and writing in the sense, I don't think of myself as creative. I mean, not like I'm not an author. I don't write things that people want to read, books and things. But I really enjoy persuasive reasoning and enjoyed the process of structuring an argument and then building it. And I like the iterative process of drafting, where you start with an idea and an outline, and then you build out sentences and paragraphs. And so I realized that I really enjoyed writing in a technical sense, and I like problem solving. And as I journaled about these experiences, and I thought, okay, well, this is something I enjoy doing. What is a lucrative career where I can employ these skills? And I guess I'm going to be a lawyer, because that's what at least a lot of lawyers do. Spend a lot of time writing and solving problems.
Are you happy with that choice?
That's a complicated question, or maybe the answer is complicated.
Right.
There have been many times in my career where I have questioned whether it was the right choice. And as I tried to figure out what my options were, and when I told myself I needed change, how drastic was that change going to be? Uh, one of the things I did is I went out and found a career coach, professional coach, and met with him over a couple of months, talked about what I liked, what I didn't like. And he had me do some skills assessments and personality assessments. The funny thing is that the results said that my personality traits and my skills, the highest correlation to a career with job satisfaction was computer science.
That's kind of wild.
And I went, oh, okay. Well, maybe I made the wrong choice. Am I going to start over now? I mean, at this time, I had just had my first child. So I had to worry about paying the bills, but it was still young in my career. So I never fully explored the idea of just scrapping the legal profession and trying something different.
The thing that I wanted to ask about, you worked for a company headquartered on the other side of the country.
Yeah. So when I left the big law firm and I went in-house, the client that I went in-house to, I paused for a moment because I've been reflecting a lot about my career progression lately. And I've been focusing on the 5 years that I was with this client because with the benefit of hindsight, I think you can appreciate a time and place and how wonderful it was, even if you couldn't appreciate it at the time. But so for 5 years, I worked for the client that I went in-house with, and it was a small management team. So it was me, the CFO, and the CEO. It was the three of us. I was brought on to help execute an aggressive growth strategy. And so over 5 years, we doubled the size of the company and then ultimately sold it to a company that was based on the East Coast. And that 5-year period was really special because I worked with good people. I worked hard, but I had autonomy and I had coworkers that respected my contributions. And so it was a really great period of time. But yes, then when we sold the company, we sold to an East Coast group. Part of their reason for acquiring a West Coast based company and part of our reason for selecting them as the buyer was they were looking for an infusion of human capital. And so they actually saw value in our management team and our corporate headquarters here and wanted to integrate us into their operations rather than just shut down our corporate office as unnecessary overhead. So for 7 years, I worked for an East Coast based company.
How did your life change? You were going back pretty often. I know, like, you'd be like, hey, I'm going to New Jersey,
When I think about that chapter of my life, both the 5 years before we sold it, but then the 7 years after the sale, for the 7 years that I was working for a New Jersey-based company, with the exception of the pandemic and a break in between, I was generally on a flight to the East Coast every 2 to 3 weeks. And when I reflect on that time of my life, I laugh now because going to law school, I did not set out to be a road warrior.
Were the conversations at home at that point? Like, how did your family feel about the fact that you were going to the, like you said, every couple of weeks, you were flying to the East Coast and
we were in a phase of life where we were still both working full time and we had young kids and it was just kind of put your head down and go. So looking back on those times now, I mean, we were worn really thin because I was gone a lot. So my wife was single parenting for weeks at a time.
With a demanding full-time job.
Yeah, with her own full-time job. And because it sort of happened, because these jobs sort of happened, as opposed to me intentionally seeking them out, it was kind of a frog in boiling water situation.
Right.
Where just the travel picked up, and then we sold the company, and then it was like, well, I'm okay. Now I've got to figure out what the culture is here and what the expectations are. Oh, okay. The expectations are that we're going to have lots of face-to-face meetings, and that generally means that I'm flying to them. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot, and it's really hard. I got used to flying to the East Coast, getting an hour of sleep in a hotel, and then just being on from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m.
God.
for 4 days. And just hoping that one of those nights in between I would get a decent night's sleep so that I was functioning. And then I would come home and I would just be completely discombobulated, and it would take me a couple of days to recalibrate. Yeah, so that was intense and unpleasant. But the conversation at home at first, it was just like, well, we're just both working hard and trying to make money and providing for our kids. And over time, as the grind became greater and greater, and we were getting more and more tired, it became more of an urgent, kind of periodic, stress-induced conversations like, this is hard and this is not great. Like, we can't keep doing this indefinitely. What are our options for course correcting?
Okay, so even just I've been hiking with you, and the joke is, you kind of put your head down and you go up the hill, and God forbid you pause for 10 seconds and look around. You're kind of like, are you just that way? Because like you're describing, like, okay, it's very easy to see how going to New Jersey and spending all this time traveling and away from your family and not sleeping, and a million reasons why that would build up and essentially you'd hit a wall. But you worked 90 hours coming out of the gate when you got your first job. Like, you're not, like, do you not work? Can you imagine yourself not working?
Well, yes, I can imagine it. Whether I would do well at it isn't.
What's the longest you've ever gone without working hard?
I don't think ever since I went to college.
You've never what's the longest vacation you've had?
2.5 weeks?
In 30 years?
Yes. But we're in America. That's common.
Is it? I don't know. I personally, the longest vacation I've had, aside from when I got laid off, is 3 weeks. So I'm not coming to you as someone who's been like sitting on a beach for 4 months at a time going, hey, this is great. Everybody should do it. Like, I'm not wired that way either. But do you ever talk about taking a long break? Can you imagine? Do you aspire to it at all? Or is it just like not even like 2.5 weeks was great, and maybe you can get to 2.5 weeks again at some point?
I don't feel like my profession allows for a long break.
Yeah.
In private practice, it's difficult because when you're on a big transaction, that transaction has a timeline and a sequence of events, and it has milestones. And once that train starts moving, it doesn't stop for anybody.
Yeah.
And it's an occupational hazard that when you're doing that kind of work, it gets in the way of vacations, important family events, because emergencies come up or there are deadlines, and you can't just say, well, I'll pick this up in a week when I'm back.
Right.
So you either find somebody to fill in for you, which at a big law firm, sometimes you can do that. Sometimes it's not efficient to do that.
Right.
But certainly what I'm doing now, my partners don't do the kind of work that I do, so I don't have anybody to hand things off to. But then the alternative, if I'm not dealing with one transaction that kind of has a life of its own, I'm doing a lot of little things. And I think the practice of law is similar to many other jobs that all involve sales. in this regard, which is you can take a break, but when you stop having all the dialogues and the points of contact and the networking and all of the busy work that you have to do to build and maintain relationships and put feelers out and come to mind when people need help with something, you want to be the person they call. If you stop all of that, then when you come back, you don't have anything to do. And then that 1 month vacation or 2 weeks, however long it is, there's also a tail to that where you're like, okay, now I've got to get the machine going again.
Right.
And so those two different kinds of work pressures are very different kinds of pressure, but they both make it difficult to take large amounts of time off.
Is there anything that you wish you knew then that you know now when going back to maybe getting out of law school?
There's lots that I wish I knew now, but I wish in law school that there was curriculum or support in an institutional way to help students understand that the area of law that they go into affects their quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that being a corporate attorney means that you're always working on big transactions that don't stop for anybody. And then when it's transaction, when do you fit in a break? I think I worked as a junior associate for 2 years before my wife demanded that I take time off for a vacation. And she probably said something to the effect of, you will die, not by my hands, but just from overwork if you don't take some time off.
Right.
And so I wish that law schools did a better job, and maybe they do today, I don't know, but helping students explore career potential, not just for the things that interest them, but also what the area of interest that they want to pursue actually looks like in terms of a practice and its demands on your personal life.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wish that I knew then that I know now is one of the things that's really challenging about the practice of law is, I mean, everybody knows the jokes and the stereotypes about lawyers, and nobody likes lawyers. People need lawyers, but they don't like lawyers. And that is reflected in a lot of my interactions with clients. And
how do you be that?
How to put this? There's a lot of people that just resent that they have to pay a lawyer to help them do something.
Mm-hmm.
There are companies where lawyers are highly respected and senior executives, and then their input is valued, and they drive decisions and drive a lot of policy. There's other corporate cultures where lawyers are a necessary evil, and where people feel that they're a necessary
evil. They're an
evil.
impediment to just doing what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are companies where the culture is, we're only going to invite them when we absolutely have to. We're going to do everything we can to not involve them in conversations because they're an impediment. I'm a transactional person. I help people finish something that's important to them, buying and selling a business or buying and selling real estate. And that's an inherently positive thing. So as I've been in different phases of my career, I have had different experiences with how people feel about what I do. And so I'm thankful at least that I can appreciate the benefit of really good clients who genuinely do appreciate what a lawyer can help them do.
On the next episode of Work Shaped Life.
I am a professional social media influencer. And it is also at this point my husband's career. In 2026, with a mortgage and a kid and a 2-person production studio, which is essentially what we run, and social media content as my full-time job, there is no way to make it work other than starting from the knowledge of what will cause a video to do well in the algorithm.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to hear the episode when it drops. In the meantime, check out Work-Shaped Life on Substack. Work-Shaped Life is produced by Sheepscot Creative. It's hosted by me, Dave Weich, edited by Bailey Cain and Michael Nipper, with production support from Benna Gottfried, Rosie Struve, Amelia Lukas, and Kate Sokoloff. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Hannah Louise Poston. Thanks for listening.